everyone. Today, as I'm recording this, it's September 5th, 2023. And many people don't know this. It's not even listed in some of the Catholic periodicals that today is actually the feast that honors and remembers and hopefully is inspired by Mother Teresa of Calcutta. She actually died on September 5th, 1997. 26 years ago, which for some of us my age and older say, wow, how did those years go by? And somebody would probably need to be 35 or so to even remember her vividly as someone who lived. I had a wonderful opportunity to connect with her in a significant way. After I was ordained in 1974, 10 years later, in 1984, I was becoming a pastor for the first time. And I thought, which is something I do every year anyway, I would make a retreat. We're encouraged to make a yearly retreat as priests. And in fact, that could be beneficial for everyone, at least some sort of retreat on a yearly basis. Well, the retreat that I made with a priest friend, we chose to go to Rome because we read about a retreat that was being given by Mother Teresa and John Paul II, the Pope. The two of them, an English-speaking retreat, they would take 1,000 priests from around the world. Well, we jumped in and signed up right away. And so I had a wonderful opportunity to be with these two people as they inspired us, not only by what they said, but obviously who they were and who they still are, and encouraged us. And Mother Teresa, and both of them inspired and challenged us. You know, a lot of times we look at somebody like that, Mother Teresa, I'll talk about her another time, John Paul. But yes, to see her life, her concern for the poor, her outreach, her love, that is inspirational. And she did touch a lot of lives. But I can tell you, at that retreat, and even other times when I read about where she was, she also challenged people. She challenged people to have a deep reverence for all of life. She challenged us in the United States, especially to be concerned for the poor. She made the point that often Jesus Christ can be found in the disguise of the poor, and we need to recognize him there. And we know even still in this country, we have an issue, but she powerfully reminded us. And, you know, when she started out, she was an Albanian woman. And in fact, I can tell you, when I did meet her in Rome at that time, she's only 5 foot tall. She had a craggly face. She wouldn't make some fashion magazine in the United States. If you ran across her somewhere, you might think, oh, here's this poor old lady, and what does she have to offer? Because so often in our culture, we emphasize image. We emphasize beauty, and beauty more in terms of the outer physical appearance. But I can tell you, when I was with her in 1984, she was awesome. She was beautiful. She had a smile that radiated a real sense of love for people. Her eyes were piercing. They could pierce into you. And I felt that discomfort a little bit because I've been ordained 10 years. And even still, am I as holy as I want to be? No. The Lord is touching me and humbling me because I'm not. But I know that one of the ways he touched me that day was she was so strong on the call to us as clergy to be holy, to be basically to lead the 2 great commandments: love God with our whole being and love others as we love ourselves. And so again, her showing that and telling that was powerful. Now, I know a couple other things I want to mention about her, that she had that call to go to India. She had been a teacher for a few years, but she heard what often is said is a call within the call. Yes, that she had a call, but within that call to serve the Lord, to start a community, to start a missionary. Missionaries of Charity was the community she started. They still, around the world, reach out to the poor. In fact, one of her groups right now, these many years later, is in the Ukraine, serving people there, because they go where the people are most need help. The other thing that Mother Teresa emphasized, which I think we also need to see, is that she said when she came to the United States, the greatest poverty is the poverty of loneliness. And she was able to acknowledge years ago, which many commentators mention today, that there's a lot of lonely people in our country. And sometimes they're in nursing homes, they're not connected with family, maybe they are ignored in some ways. And she said, wow, we need to look at that, spiritual poverty. The other thing that she had, one more thing to add, there's so much more I could say, is that she had what was called in Catholic tradition, dark night of the soul. For a lot of her life, and this was only discovered after her writings, after she died, that she would mention at times she had a difficult time experiencing God's love, knowing he was there for her and with her. A lot of saints talked about that because she had such an intense love for God and for doing that sometimes she felt its absence. But the power of her being a saint, because some people put her down, look, she didn't always have this deep interior love for God, but the power was that even when she didn't feel it at times, she still served the Lord, and she didn't doubt the call she had and the ministry she did. Even though she didn't feel it all the time, we can use our feelings as an excuse. She reached out and loved anyway, in what had to be very difficult, all those years in India dealing with the dying. So we remember Teresa today. There's so much more that I could talk about her, but I could tell you back 10 years after my ordination, being there was a significant retreat in my life, and it stays with me because of her and Pope John Paul II. Not because of their title, not because of all the press they got, because they were so alive in Jesus Christ and passed it on because that's what they wanted to do. God bless you, and may we all become the saints the Lord wants us to be.